So in this video, I'll talk about another aspect of clearing the throat chakra, which is learning through inner direction, and also about the use of sound, which is related to the throat chakra. So in life, there are two ways of learning. The first is learning through negative experiences, and if we are not open to self-reflection and looking at ourselves and our repeating patterns, then we usually only learn from the repetition of actual negative experiences. But if we are open to self-reflection and self-development, we can also begin to learn through inner direction without having to engage in every negative experience. And this learning process is an inner intuitive experience, and in this way we can avoid some negative experiences or repetitive patterns because we work on letting go of the lower selves that cause these patterns. This, of course, does not mean that every negative experience is your fault or caused by a lower self. Also, many negative experiences can be hidden blessings. And as I mentioned in the video, The Quick Course of Self-Development, there are many books about the laws of attraction, but it is really not that one-to-one correspondence or linear process, as it may sometimes seem, but it is highly nonlinear and complex. But what happens when we are open to learning through inner direction is that we can avoid many of the negative experiences and repeating patterns that are caused by making the same limiting decisions from the same lower selves and from the same lower state of awareness over and over again. And this awareness of thoughts and feelings before bringing them into the physical plane is a process that you can practice, and it often requires your awareness to be present for seconds or fractions of a second before taking a physical action. And this does not mean that we are not spontaneous, but we become more aware when we are in a calm and neutral state of mind and when we are in a negative state of mind. And this helps us to pause a little before taking action when we are in an unbalanced state of mind. And this shifts us from an automatic mode of reactions and making decisions without being conscious of it, and in which learning in this case occurs only through actual repetitive negative experiences, to a mode of awareness, which opens us up to learning through inner direction and breaking the patterns, which leads to higher inner experiences, even if the outer situation does not change. And this means higher unconditional inner peace, love, and joy, because by letting go of more lower selves, you will have high reactions to the same outer conditions. And this is the power of self within you and in every one of us, and this of course can enhance your outer situation with time. So what does learning from inner direction have to do with the throat chakra? Is that the throat chakra is the chakra of power and will. And so when we take a physical action, we first form a vision or image of what we want to do in the mind, and then we summon our will and project it onto the physical plane through words or an action. Therefore, being aware of our thoughts and feelings before taking any physical action brings back power to our own hands. And this process of taking power and control over our minds opens and clears the throat chakra, the seat of power and will. So another important aspect of the throat chakra is its connection to our speech and how we use our voice and the spoken word. And this is part of learning through inner direction, which is being aware of our thoughts and emotions before projecting it onto the physical plane through sound. And this gives you back the power to direct your energy and opens the throat chakra. So to clear the throat chakra, we need to be aware of how we use our voices as a transmitter of physical energy waves that are sent to others and to the environment, and which also affects our energy field. And sound is actually part of performing a physical action or projecting onto the physical plane, and sensing what kind of physical impulses a person is sending before sending it. And regarding sound in general, there are many studies that have demonstrated the effect of sound on plants, or the ability to learn, or on the formation of patterns in water or ice crystals. And so there is power in sound, and this includes the human voice. For example, experiments showed how plants thrive on words of love or joyful, harmonious music, and how they are negatively affected when exposed to words of hatred, or when exposed to disharmonious sound waves or a disharmonious music. And so sound is energy, and everything is connected to energy. So to evaluate the type of waves or energy impulses you are sending through sound and the spoken words, we need to tune into an ability that we all have. And this ability is sensing in the heart chakra what raises the energy and what lowers it. And this process of sensing the invisible formless flow of energy is an intuitive process that cannot be accurately or completely described in words, because it is an experiential process and cannot be learned theoretically. But we can gradually refine it and sense the energy in the heart chakra. And as I mentioned in the video, the quick course of self-development, intuition can be tricky because energy signals can be colored by one's own perception filters and lower selves. But the more one can be neutral and open, the more accurate insights one can get. Because as we clear out more lower selves, then if we have a coming energy signal, we can sense its vibration without it interfering with the lower vibrations of lower selves. So that is why intuition can be tricky, but it can be enhanced once one is neutral and open and in a state of clarity. So when energy rises in the heart chakra, there is an upward flow of energy. So you can feel whether the energy is rising or lowering. So to clear the throat chakra associated with speech, you need to be aware of what you are saying and how you are saying it so that you can feel what kind of energy you are sending out. And it is important to realize that this is not to overanalyze or judging yourself harshly. And once again, you can see here the limitations of words in describing this intuitive experience. But it is just to realize that your voice actually sends out physical energy waves that affect your surrounding environment, other people, and also yourself and your own energy field. And this ability can be gradually enhanced and refined so that one can stop for a few seconds before using the voice when the person is in a negative, unbalanced state of mind. So as a first step, consider establishing a reference point for feeling an upward energy flow and a positive, joyful sound wave. For example, try saying out loud, "What a beautiful sunrise," while visualizing it. You will then feel that you are producing and sending out a joyful energy wave that helps to uplift all life. Because contrary to the common illusion that the energy we send is limited in space, it actually interacts with the energy waves around us and with our own energy field and with the energy fields of others. And so by establishing a reference point, you can sense how other types of sound or spoken word affect your energy, whether it raises or lowers the energy in your heart chakra. So for example, after creating and sensing a positive energy wave as a reference point, you can then begin to sense when others are sending you a negative wave through sound, where you can feel a certain reaction in you, making you feel frustrated, depressed, unworthy, angry, or irritable. Unless, of course, you have worked to provide adequate protection to your energy field through prayers and through seeing the lies that are being projected at you. So you can sense when others are projecting a certain energy on you through sound. And this is because the other person is directing a wave at you of a certain energy. And the intention of the sender determines whether the wave sent to you will raise or lowers the energies in your heart chakra. And of course, it is not about being silent or overthinking or self-condemnation or not being spontaneous or overanalyzing how to use the voice, but rather about becoming more aware and in control of the center of your power and will, the throat chakra, which is part of self-mastery, where you begin to hold back a negative expression aimed at putting down another part of life, other people or yourself through negative self-talk when we are in an unbalanced state of mind. And this is because having negative thoughts and feelings is one thing, but formulating it and sending it into the physical plane through sound and the spoken word is another thing that reinforces the negative spiral even more, because it becomes a burst of energy that spreads out into the environment and to other people like rings of water, having far-reaching effects even if they are not visible to us. Also, as an example of how the outward appearance does not necessarily reflect energy and that this intuitive ability can never be described in words, imagine that there is a loving mother who speaks firmly or even screams at her child in order to keep him away from danger. In this case, the energy wave sent out is positive when it enters the child's energy field, even though it appears from the outside as a wave of anger of negative energy, but it actually comes from a pure loving intent. And so it is impossible to describe intuitive experience in words, but words are only a bridge to the actual inner experience. So whether the energy wave sent through sound is positive or negative depends on the sender's intent, even if the words sound good. But if the intention is impure, you can feel it in the heart. And vice versa. Sometimes, even if the words aren't entirely good or the tone sounds angry, but the intention is pure, you can feel it in your heart chakra. And so the energy wave sent through sound has an immediate effect on both the sender and the receiver, either raising or lowering the energy. And this depends on the sender's intention, whether to uplift all life or put down others or some other part of life. So we can say that the first step towards self-development is to evaluate the type of energy waves we unconsciously send out during the day. So to better understand how much damage and disharmony sound can cause, imagine looking down at the earth from above, from the atmosphere, where you can see billions of the sound waves that humans produce every second. And if we map these energy waves, just as how a satellite shows cities at night, where light is concentrated around large cities, you will see in the same way how sound waves are concentrated around large cities. And if you see the colors and shapes of these sound waves, and the many dissonant and disharmonious impulses sent out, which have the intention of putting down or harming others, you will see the devastating effect these waves have on all life, including plants and animals, and also on the people themselves who produce them. So we are all walking in this soup of energy, which is constantly being reinforced by people talking negatively to each other through grumbling, bullying, etc. And this affects the energy field of anyone who is part of this field, unless of course they have created enough momentum to close their energy field and aura through fortification with prayers. Also, sometimes the lower self can cause us to talk about a certain negative topic over and over again, as if the person has lost control and cannot control the urge to talk about the topic constantly, even though there is not much new to say. And we have all probably been through this at some point or other, and we may need it for a period of time to recover and heal. And so it is not about judging ourselves, but there comes a point where we need to realize that continuing will only drain more energy from our field, and that the lower self will feed on this drained energy. So we can look at it and stop this cycle and rise above it to where we can find valuable solutions. Also, another point in using voice is that you may be aware that sometimes one can feel a temporary empowerment or power when speaking in an angry tone intended to put down another person, as if the anger or irritation gives the voice more power than usual. But the reality is that it is not true power, but a temporary outburst of intense negative energy, resulting in an artificial high that, like all artificial highs, inevitably crashes into a low. And we know from experience the negative effects of anger on the human body, while the higher outcome is that the mind does not become clouded by anger, so that we make more aware decisions and be more aware of what we say when we are in an unbalanced state of mind. Also, we know that there is a difference between the frequency of a sound wave and its loudness. A low frequency sound wave can be loud, but its frequency will not become higher when its volume is raised. And in the same way, a negative, angry sound energy wave sent through voice with negative intentions is not real power, as power comes from the higher vibrations of pure intentions, but is low frequency energy no matter how loud it is, and it will have negative effects on the person sending it and on others and the environment, and will make the person more susceptible to making unconscious decisions. So true power lies in the individual's control over his or her state of mind. And while there is no perfection on earth, we can gradually learn to become more aware of how we use our voice to enhance our energy and all life. So thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped you in your journey of self-development.